I do not believe, and I know this is a horrible thing to say, but I do not believe that the president loves America. He doesn't love you and he doesn't love me. He wasn't brought up the way you were brought up and I was brought up, through love of this country. The backlash was quick and it was harsh.
I'm just sorry to hear that, and I find it wrong in every possible way that could be wrong.
A leader of the Republican Party said that the president doesn't love us and doesn't love the country. If the Republican Party really wants to be taken seriously, really wants to avoid its problems of the past, now is the time for its leaders to stop this kind of nonsense. Enough!
The president's team also getting involved today. The Deputy White House Press Secretary Eric Schultz taking a shot at the mayor over his failed run for president, saying, quote, Mr. Giuliani test drove this line of attack during his fleeting 2007 run for the presidency. I agree with him on one thing. It was a horrible thing to say. Here now to respond, former New York City mayor and former Republican presidential candidate Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, do you want to apologize for your comment?
Not at all. I want to repeat it. The reality is, from all that I can see of this president, all that I've heard of him, he apologizes for America. He criticizes America. He talks about the Crusades and how the Christians were barbarians, leaves out the second half of the sentence, that the Muslims were barbarians also. He sees Christians slaughtered and doesn't stand up and hold a press conference, although he holds a press conference for the situation in Ferguson. He sees Jews being killed for anti-Semitic reasons, doesn't stand up and hold a press conference. This is an American president I've never seen before.
But to say that he doesn't love America, I mean, that he could view foreign policy as a Democrat might view it, and through a different lens than you, a Republican, might see it. You can understand the differences between you, but to condemn his patriotism, to question his love of America?
I'm not condemning his patriotism. Patriots can criticize. They're allowed to criticize. I don't hear from him what I heard from Harry Truman, what I heard from Bill Clinton, what I heard from Jimmy Carter, which is these wonderful words about what a great country we are, what an exceptional country we are. When he called us an exceptional country, he said we're an exceptional country, but so is Greece. Back 3,000 years ago.
Doesn't mean he doesn't love America.
Well, I haven't.
A lot of liberals don't believe in American exceptionalism, but that doesn't mean they don't love America.
Well, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I don't feel this love of America. I think this man was, when I talked about his background, I'm talking about a man who grew up under the influence of Frank Marshall Davis, who was a member of the Communist Party, who he refers to over and over in his book, who was a tremendous critic of the United States. This is a man who worked under Saul Alinsky, who was a tremendous critic of the United States. I believe his initial approach is to criticize this country and then afterwards to say a few nice things about us.
But when you say that he wasn't raised to love America, I mean, he was raised in part by his grandparents. His grandfather served in World War II. His grandmother worked in a munitions plant to help the nation during World War II. I mean, to suggest he was raised by people who don't love America or who didn't help him learn to love America.
Well, his grandfather introduced him to Frank Marshall Davis, who was a communist, who the president says
he fought in World War II.
Okay, you can fight in World War II, and then you introduce someone to a communist, and the young boy gets...
It's a political worldview. It's not a hatred for the country.
Communism wasn't a hatred for America?
I'm talking about this particular, his grandfather, if he had a leftist view of how politics in the United States should run, does that mean he doesn't love America? Does it mean his grandson doesn't?
Kelly, how about being in a church for 17 years, where the minister of the church says, it's not God loves America, but goddamn America. Now, if you were in that church, wouldn't you quit that church?
Let me ask you this.
No, I'm going to ask you that. Would you quit that church?
Well, listen, it's not about me, but it's not about me. But I want to ask you this because
I know you would quit that church. And the reason you would is because you were brought up about how exceptional this country is, how wonderful this country is. I am saying, and I may be wrong, it's my opinion and I'm entitled to it, I do not detect in this man the same rhetoric, the same language, the same love of America that I detected in other American presidents, including Democrats. And I think it guides a lot of the things that he says and a lot of the things that he does.
Let me ask you this. So, I mean, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's all upset about